Reading from a script without sounding like you're reading from a script can be incredibly difficult. And I don't mean that you can't actually read out loud in front of people. If that's actually your problem, this is not the video for you. For a lot of people, that's kind of the easy part, just standing in front of someone and just read what's written. What I mean is, how do you read from a script and not sound like you're reading from a script? How do you sound like yourself and not sound boring, ultimately, or like you don't even know what's been written? How long does it take you to notice when someone is reading from a script? Maybe like half a sentence? 2 words? Is it the fact that their speech is not deviating from a repetitive structure and pattern regardless of what they're saying, or they sound incredibly boring, or you're getting put to sleep or anything like that, like I'm doing now? Now, let's say for whatever reason you find yourself in a position when you need to actually be scripted. You now need to read from a script. You have never read from a script before, so what do? I'm going to give you an actual step-by-step guide to improving your script reading, presenting, and by improving, this could be your first time, so maybe this is just your beginner's guide. However you want to think of it, this will help if you follow these steps to specifically go through and be able to read and present from a script without sounding that way. All right, first step, and I know I'm going to lose a lot of you right out of the gate, and I'm very sorry about this because most people don't like doing this, but you're going to have to listen to yourself talk. There's just frankly no way around this. You need to fully internalize what you actually sound like when you talk. I don't mean the difference between your voice and how it sounds in your head versus how it sounds when recorded. There's science behind that as well. I'm not also getting into in this video. But what I specifically mean is how about how you put your sentences together? Do you speak in long or short sentences? Do you take lots of pauses? Do you run on your sentences? Do you tend to get louder at the end? Do you get softer at the end? You're going to have to listen to yourself by setting up a baseline. I'm assuming that you have some script maybe ready to go to present it from, or if you don't, find something. Just whip something up, write an email, take out an email that's written, grab a book, grab a blog post. Honestly, what's written doesn't matter. Just something that you can read out loud. Grab your phone, open a Zoom and hit record. I don't care about the video, just something where you can record yourself reading the thing that you've pulled up. And once that's done, we're going to record yourself talking about something completely different. Do not make this about the same thing. This needs to be something completely different. This can be a short story, something that's happened in your day. You just need a way of recording yourself talking about it as though you're talking to a friend or a partner. So once you've done both of these, we now need to compare the two. Again, I don't care about the content. That's why I said do things that are completely different. But listen to how things sound. Listen for any sing-songy that you have in your voice when you're just talking. If your tone goes up or down at certain points in sentences, especially at the end. Listen between the two if you pause in the same way or if you pause differently. Listen for any filter words you throw in that aren't in a written words, or listen for noises that you make naturally when you speak. Listen to where you take breaths. Listen to where you speed up or slow down. You've probably never noticed any of this before, either in your actual spoken off the cuff or from what you're reading, but I'm betting there's actually a significant amount of variation in how you speak versus how you read. When reading, when people don't know what they're doing or they haven't worked on it, people tend to structure the sentences exactly the same way every time. But I'm going to predict how your scripted recording sounds. Are you ready? I'm going to switch to reading my script here in the same way that you read yours. You'll notice that from sentence to sentence, things sound exactly the same. While in the exact points where you may go up and down, your speech might not match, you'll hear the exact same speed and inflection in every sentence. Quite a difference now that you know I'm reading from a script. Kind of crazy, right? You did that exercise to show that it's likely not the script's fault that you sound the way that you do when you read from a script. Everything I've been talking about here has actually been from a script that I'm reading this entire time too. I mean, I'm not the perfect script reader presenter, but yeah, really. I mean, I probably tossed in a few extra sentences or words here and there where off the cuff I was like, I want to kind of put this sentence in there, but it's been mostly scripted. So trust me, you can get there as well. Anyways, so now that you've got your baselines done and you've definitely heard the difference, now it's time to inject some of your own life into how you read a script. There's 2 different ways to do this. I'd recommend listening to them both, but if you want to skip ahead, you can. The first, we're going to take a look at what's happened when you're given a script, and the next, we're going to look at after that if you have to write your own script. Very valuable information in both of them, but if you want to skip ahead, you can use the chapter breaks to do that. For this first one, you've been handed a script and been told to present what's written. We're going to use the same techniques that actors actually use on a script they've been given, because guess what? Most of the time, they can't change the words either. Like most of the time, they have to use the exact words that are in the script. In fact, this is the difference usually between good and bad Shakespeare productions. The good ones have taken the time to really figure out how to own the script and make it their own and understand the language. But honestly, that could also be a completely different video in and of themselves. But it's all about your approach to it, and this is what we're going to be doing here. Now, this is important. From this point forward, you're going to need to start reading your script out loud. You cannot prepare for a speech by reading silently. I'm going to probably be hitting on this multiple times, but words feel differently when we're saying them versus when we're reading them. You never slip over words when you're reading them silently. I mean, think about it. Tongue twisters, unless they're complete nonsense, tongue twisters aren't hard to understand. They're just hard to say, so you must practice out loud. Also, another recommendation, I recommend having your script editable in some way. You need to either mark a physical script up as you move along, or you need to be able to edit and highlight things digitally. It doesn't really matter. It's a style preference if you want to print it or not. Do what works for you. All right, so read through your script out loud. Go through things sentence by sentence. You're looking for 3 specific things. You're looking for first meaning, and then connection, and finally emotion. You're looking for meaning, connection, and emotion. What's this sentence trying to say? Make sure you understand this very clearly. You have to know why you're saying each word. There's nothing that will make you sound scripted as much as having to say something you don't understand or think you know where a sentence is going only to have it shift halfway through. We've all had that when we're reading out loud, right? The second is connection. How does what I'm saying right now connect with what I said before? Is it a natural next sentence? Is this a change in topic? Is this an aside to what I was saying? All of these things matter to how you're going to say them. And third, think about the emotion of the sentence. Is this happy, sad, sarcastic, comical? Is it a morose sentence? This takes a little bit of time to think, but not as much or nearly as long as you think. But make sure you fully understand the meaning. Make sure you understand the connection. Make sure you understand the emotion before you move on to the next step. Next, you have to build in some pauses. Nobody speaks a single sentence at the same speed over and over and over again. If you think back to your story compared to your script was the same speed. Probably every sentence was exactly the same speed. Your story had a lot more of slowing down, pausing, speeding up. This is critical. You actually have to go in and build in some variation to find places to emphasize, places to pause, places to rush right through the end of the sentence, and when you have to really know when it makes sense to do so as well. You're building in variety, which is how we speak. Find some type of notation shorthand that works for you. You can use arrows. You can do highlighting in different colors. You can make squigglies underneath, whatever you want. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else how you mark your script, just to you. Figure it out, find a system that works for you, and mark up your script in some ways that you know when you're going to speed up, when you're going to slow down. Finally, you need to build in where you're going to breathe. I'm not joking about this. Breathing is very natural and part of speaking, and you probably just heard the breath I took before that sentence since I mentioned it. But you don't normally notice it. But when you're reading from a script, you'll find yourself all of a sudden out of breath, and you'll feel nervous about trying to take a breath. But you can breathe in the middle of a sentence. You can breathe when you pause. You can breathe to make it sound like you're thinking about something. Breathing is a great way to change up the variety of your script to make it feel more real and more natural. But to do so, you should put in where you're going to actually breathe, just like you're putting in where your words are going to be. And in the end, you're going to have a script that, although it wasn't written by you, now you can make it sound like something you're talking about rather than something you're just reading about, which is kind of the key to what we're doing here. The next section is about writing your own script. So again, if you want to skip past that, you can go to the chapter after it and pick us up there. But honestly, there's some useful information there as well in case you ever need to. So I'd encourage you to watch on. All right, so now about writing your own script. And this process looks actually a lot different, though it does share some commonality with if you're given a script. Now, you can start from something you just wrote and go through the same process I'd mentioned before, where you're looking for pauses, looking forward to add your breath, adjusting things to make it sound more natural. But there's an easier way. There's actually an easier way. If you're starting from scratch, record yourself talking about the topic using some type of speech or text or dictation program of some sort. Your phone probably has this built in somewhere. And I would, you can have an outline, like a list of bullets if you want, so that you can guide yourself as you talk. Then after you're done, you edit it down or rearrange, but don't make the sentences grammatically correct or more formal in any way. You want to leave those grammatically incorrect things that you use when you speak in there. You want to use the weird parts of your speech because that's how you talk. And that's actually the whole point of this exercise. If you're reading something that was transcribed from your speech, it's going to be significantly easier to read from that than writing from scratch. It's easier to edit something down, at first at least, than it is to produce from scratch most of the time. I will say, though, as you get more and more used to scripts for yourself, you might find you can actually type out a script just as easily as transcribing one, but that usually comes with practice, so that's why I'd recommend to start with dictation. You figured out how you can sound, and you have a script that you can read from that now matches or can be matched to how you talk. So now we're on to the last tip, and this is about actually presenting it. Now, in doing so, you need to go slower than you think you need to. When you have the words all written out for you, the normal thing is you tend to try to want to get to the end as fast as possible. I mean, when we're just speaking off the cuff, you spend time thinking. You spend time considering your next sentence. You're not doing that when it's scripted, and so you're going to go faster than you need to. Don't go too fast. Don't try to just rush to the end. Take your time. This does not contradict what I said before about speeding up and slowing down as you read. You're still going to speed up and slow down. You're just going to make everything slower than you think. Make your fast words a bit slower and your slower words much slower. Like, think of it as turning down the main speed control of the whole speech by about like 50% compared to how fast you think it should go. If it sounds weird to you, perfect. It's likely going to sound great to everyone else. And then once you've got all this, you got to practice it. You got to practice it. I've said it before, out loud. Practice out loud. Now, I can guarantee you that some of you will just try to practice your speech in your head. It doesn't work. Trust me, I've been doing this for about 10 years, making content and presenting from scripts on numerous occasions in numerous contexts. I still make a ton of edits and changes from when I'm reading something or having typed something out to what I'm speaking, when I'm saying it, when I'm going through and practicing it. You cannot just practice this in your head. You have to do it out loud. Record yourself, listen back to it, change parts that didn't sound natural, but by this point, you should already notice a significant change in just that very first recording. It gets easier the more that you do it. Nobody nails this the first time. I encourage you as well to get curious about this. If you hear someone reading from a script, ask them about it. See if they wouldn't mind sharing some of their tricks and tips. If they read from a script and are good at it, it means they worked at it, because this is not a natural thing to do. This is a skill that requires development, and that I honestly believe anyone can develop this skill. So let me know if this has helped you, and if there's honestly any tips that maybe you've discovered along the way, please put those in the comments. And also, if you found this video helpful, please take a moment to give it a like, thumbs up, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel, send it to your coworkers, do all the things. It means a lot to me if you do. Anyways, thanks for listening. Hopefully this helps. Now get out there, improve your life, improve your demo.